Australia has a new Prime Minister, with Julia Gillard becoming the first woman to lead our country.
Julia Gillard has clinched a deal that clears the way for the national broadband network.
Better and cheaper broadband.
The greatest infrastructure project in Australia's history.
For the first time, working parents are legally entitled to taxpayer-funded parental leave.
It is a time for everybody to come together and celebrate.
This is really one of the most significant institutions, I think, that has been introduced since Medicare.
Australia will begin working towards lifting restrictions on having women fighting on the front lines.
If a woman has the physical capability and intellectual capability to do a particular job, then I do not believe it should be denied her on the basis of gender.
Australia finally has a plan to manage the Murray-Darling. It will save the river system and its communities.
Today is the day that Australia decided to restore the Murray-Darling for health.
The government will pump $4 billion into overhauling the dental health system.
Now, a visit to the dentist will be free for children and people on low incomes.
It's a $4.1 billion dental health package.
Australia has signed a major new agreement with China, setting up an annual leaders forum.
Some are seeing this as potentially the greatest single leap in relations for the two countries since diplomatic recognition back in 1972.
Hundreds of Australians had travelled to the national capital to hear Julia Gillard apologise for the practice of forced adoption.
This Parliament, on behalf of the Australian people, takes responsibility and apologises for the policies and practices that force the separation of mothers from their babies. We offer you all our unreserved apology.
A national inquiry is about to lift the lid on years of institutional abuse of children.
The Prime Minister's opted for the broadest and most powerful option available, a royal commission.
This is about healing, and it's also about justice.
Australians will have plain packaging on their cigarette packets from December next year. Anti-smoking groups say it'll save thousands of lives.
This law will be a big win for families who have lost a loved one to tobacco-related illness.
The most comprehensive review of school funding in decades.
Legislation implementing the federal government's Gonski school funding scheme passed both houses of parliament today.
The plan to inject more than $15 billion into Australian schools has been heralded as an historic reform.
Australia is setting up a new agency to combat cyber attacks.
A new strategy for a new age of national security.
Australia's moving to create the world's largest network of marine parks, protecting an area the size of India.
The network spans 3.1 million square kilometres, around a third of Australia's waters.
It's time for the world to turn a corner on protection of our oceans.
Global's rating agency Fitch has cited our strong economy in giving Australia the highest possible AAA rating.
Australia's position within the global financial community has never been stronger than it is today.
Julia Gillard has launched a new cyber safety initiative to be rolled out to more than 3,000 schools across Australia.
It's very sensible, very practical information.
The passage of her carbon tax through the Senate is a historic milestone and a win for Australia's children.
From today, we will be seizing a clean energy future.
With this vote, the world has turned a pivotal corner in the collective effort to solve the world's climate crisis.
Today, the federal government unveiled its first step in its National Disability Insurance Scheme.
This is the end of a pretty amazing week for disability care in Australia.
Many people's prospects in life were radically improved.
Leaders and parliamentarians can actually do the right thing for the country even when it's not easy.
Her father would be proud of her.